Kayla, thanks so much for taking the time today to come onto the podcast and really just give me the opportunity to get to know you better.
Yeah, absolutely.
As colleagues, we only get to catch each other in passing, I feel like, and in our consult group where I've learned a lot about you.
Yeah, I think you have. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm glad we could get one-on-one here
Yeah.
and talk more.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked me.
Cool.
I feel pretty honored.
Great. That's how I want every guest to feel.
Great.
Why don't we start with your journey into becoming a therapist? Actually, I'm gonna scratch that question.
Okay.
You and I were chatting the other day.
Okay.
And you talked about a client and you mentioned how you do weekly depth therapy. And that one caught my attention. I want to know what that means and what that looks like.
Interesting. Yeah, depth therapy. I mean, that is partly a thing that I kind of roll out when clients are asking me, like, how long will this take? Or like, how often should we meet? When I say depth therapy, I'm usually using it in a conversation where I'm like, this is going to be something we do every week for a while, like at least 6 months, probably more like a year, probably more like 5 years, if I'm being honest, right? Like I don't usually say that part because scare them away, but it's my experience that by saying like, yeah, this is depth work, people understand like, oh, okay, so we're not going to be like problem solving this one thing. We're going to be like going all the way into the core of what's going on. And that takes a while. It's the, it's the peeling back the layers that I think is sort of implied in that. And yeah, that's how I do the work. I'm not here to solve problems. I resist pretty strongly when people try to have me solve their problems.
Yeah. What kind of reaction do you get from clients usually when you resist or when you challenge back?
It depends on the client. Sometimes they're in distress and I feel pulled to like help because it's painful to be with them in their distress. And so a lot of times I'll say like, I can feel myself really feeling pulled to like just solve this problem for you or with you. And I just want to really respect your autonomy by not doing that and not being the one who's sort of telling you what to do here. And people usually understand that if I frame it as like their autonomy and like their choice about what they're going to do next.
Do they ever protest?
Of course. Of course.
How do you deal with that? As a human being who wants to help, right? Like, how do you deal with someone who's saying, you're not giving me what I think I want here?
I'm usually like, what is that like for me to not be doing it the way you want me to? I mean, I don't know if I've ever had somebody say something that directly to me.
Sure.
But it'll be usually like, what is it like for us to not be able to solve this problem right here, right now? Or like, what is it like that, somebody you're expecting to have the answer about this doesn't have it or is, refusing to tell you what to do? What is that like? Where else has that come up for you? That kind of thing. And it's hard, I think I'm kind of waiting for a client to be like, I need advice from you and you're not giving it to me, so bye. But like, it hasn't happened really. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, no, of course. It just got me thinking, like, I think in my own experience and experiences I've heard across a lot of beginning therapists is a fear that the clients will leave because we're not the smartest person or we can't show up in the way they think they want us to show up, or they really feel like we should show up for them because they're dedicating their time, energy, and money to us. And it's like, it sounds like you really figured out, I don't know, how to dodge those, or how to just maybe not dodge, but like hold those in stride in session.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to be with them at the uncertainty. And I think most people don't have experiences of another person being like, yeah, it's uncertain. That's uncomfortable. Let's just like be in that. That's really uncomfortable. It's hard. And like, the subtext is they're not alone in the uncertainty for like the 50 minutes that we're together. We're in the uncertainty together. And that's so different from me having the answers and giving it to them, because that doesn't reinforce their sense of what they're thinking or they're feeling or they're wanting, and their ability to think through a problem or a feeling or feel through a feeling.
Mm.
And like, yeah, I work with a lot of people with anxiety, and I'm starting to feel this is a theme that may emerge in this conversation, that like I'm really not about diagnoses. People use them for us, to help each other understand the labels that we're using in a given conversation as a shorthand. But like anxiety, even, I'm starting to feel allergic to that word because I don't know what it means. And I think people talk about it like they know what it means, but they often don't either. And, I'm thinking about that in this conversation because of the way it connects to uncertainty, and just like what it's like to be with uncertainty in a way that, needs some sort of answer or needs some sort of like certainty or grounding, and what it's like to be able to be in uncertainty and feel grounded anyways, or
Wow.
not need to resolve it. And just learn that like uncertainty is a part of life that you just live in, without needing to control it or
Hmm.
explain it. I don't know. I'm already waxing poetic and all shit. So
I mean, you're good. No, I feel like it's very true and such a hard truth, I think, for clients to digest and for us therapists to digest, where it's like, I don't know, I think the common thought that I have is like, I want to help people through their problems, and like socially, what it means to help someone through a problem almost feels very linear, A to B, then we've helped them. How, how, how through your career development, like, did you develop this perspective you have?
it's a good question. Um, I think it's partly that I've experienced other therapists, like my therapists, giving me one thing versus the other thing. And the feeling I've had in those experiences has been really opening for me. And also, like, my training is in existential and phenomenological psychology. It's always a mouthful to say. I'm going to especially say it weird now that I'm being recorded. But, the whole principle there is like the client has the authority on their life, and they understand their own experiences, and they're there just to have somebody be with them as they understand their experiences,
Mm,
not to guide them, even not to help them or rescue them or tell them what to do, but just sort of be with them. um, and
wow.
that was like my training, was my graduate program, um, at SU. And even before that, I worked with kids in the foster system, not as a therapist, but as what was the title they gave us? Behavioral specialist,
Ah,
which
yes.
like should tell you everything, right? These were kids who had like really intense trauma and had bounced around on average, I think like 5 or 6 times in foster homes before landing in this residential subacute psychiatric care type of facility.
Wow.
Um, and it's kind of criminal that the people who are staffed at those places are like people with bachelor's degrees who barely know what they're doing. Like that's just how
Mhm.
that system works. But uh,
I feel like that is so interesting in the sense that the higher acuity, the less experienced people, like they want just more people so then they can take more people in.
yeah, yeah,
But
because they need to have that ratio.
right.
Yeah,
But what does it do in the course of change and healing?
good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I think I bring that up just to sort of name that, like, I was that was my first mental health job, was like being plopped into that, and there was no training, and like I was asked to like do interventions with kids who I had just met who were like throwing shit, right? And like um I think that really shaped my comfort level with being in the uncertainty and not solving a problem with whoever I'm with, because like I don't know if you've ever talked to a kid who's upset, but right, if you're like,
Yeah.
let me okay, here's what we're gonna do next. If they're mad enough, they're like, fuck off. Like they don't want you to tell them what to do.
Hmm.
And or like, they want you to solve the problem, but they they think that the problem is like whatever happened that upset them. But the real problem is that they're feeling lonely or feeling like overwhelmed or abandoned or just like trash, right? Like there's so many things that they're metabolizing in their feelings. And what they really want, but probably don't know how to ask, is like to have an adult just be with them and like support them through that.
Hmm.
Um, and that I think shaped a lot of why it became a lot more comfortable for me to sort of just be like, yeah, like I can't go and tell this other kid who made you mad to never say that again to you. Like that's not I'm not going to do that. I don't have that power, and also like it's not even fair, right?
Yeah,
It's not just them. So yeah, I think that shaped me early in my career.
that makes a ton of
Yeah.
sense. I mean, I think that's so hard to get to for people because it's like what I think I hear you saying is like in the background is this need for relief in some way, need to feel seen, and it's like saying those words outside of being a therapist, like outside of the room, is so risky. It feels so, I
Yeah.
mean, vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, especially if you're a kid who's needed to make yourself big
mm,
because all the adults in your environment were scary. You know, you're not about to like go up to an adult and be like, "Hey, I feel sad. Can you comfort me?" Like that's never going to happen. And like yeah, I think that extends to adults, clients of mine,
yep,
you know.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how like we're talking right now in the context of work with children, but the message seems to stay the same.
Yeah.
How can we as adults like ask for these, I don't know, very innate attachment needs that we have
Yeah.
in a way that we're not so engrossed by shame?
Yeah.
And what a way to be with clients. It
Yeah.
sounds so human.
That's what I strive for. And like I want to be fair to myself that I'm oftentimes I am getting sucked into like a problem solving thing, or like if a client feels really distressed, I'll like kind of get like, yeah, kind of zoomed into a very nitty gritty sort of thing. And I don't always catch sight of what's going on until later. And I'll be like, oh, like I, they needed me to step back and catch what's really going on or whatever. I'm not like always just able to be like, oh, yeah, you want the problem to be solved and I can't solve it. Like I sometimes lean in more than I would like to, but I try to sort of land back in that space. This is not I'm not here to tell you what to do.
Yeah. I mean, what you're naming there, I think, is an experience I feel too. It's like in the ideal world, it'd be nice to be like that 100% of the time, in this space and like even just going from client to client to show up in this in a way that's so human and it's exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
How do you deal with that?
How do I deal with
I don't know, the exhaustion of showing up or like if you'd even call it pressure to show up in that way as a human, as yeah.
that's a really big question. Um I mean, in some ways I find it more exhausting to not show up as a human,
Mm,
and like I'll also often notice at the end of like a day where I'm like, "Ugh, I just felt like I was off and I'm really tired and like I just didn't like what I was saying in any of my sessions today or whatever." It's because I've been doing this like kind of less human version of myself because I'm like holding something in my personal life, or I started off with a client and I got kind of like off balance or something. Um and I think I often have to be like, "Oh, I wasn't showing up like really as myself today. That's why I'm so extra tired." Um and you're right that like being very human all the time Not that any of us are like not human, but right, like we're talking about being authentic. I think that's
Yes.
how I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, I think that's the better
Um,
word here. Yeah.
um, it is work, and like I shape my whole life around it, kind of. Like I used to smoke weed and like can't do that anymore. Like don't do it anymore because it makes me fuzzy
Yeah.
and like messes with my system. And like right, like my body is my main tool. And if it's like got any gucked up gears, like it's gonna fuck with me when I'm with my clients. And like I don't know, a lot of my personal relationships have changed because I have to not lean into the like kind of bantery thing with a lot of my friends in a way that I had more space to at some point. I just don't anymore. Um, I see a therapist every week, and like I see that's part of my. We were talking about how much consult I do. Part of it is that like that helps me sort of sustain the authenticity thing, because I'm talking with my consultees about everything that's happening for me in a session and like what's going on and how hard it is or how much this thing that this client said hurt my feelings, but like I couldn't say it, or
Mm.
like whatever. Um, like that's part of it too. And yeah, I don't know. I take exquisite care of myself, and I'm not trying to like do a humble brag there. I'm just like, I have to. When I don't, I feel it in my work immediately.
Um,
Um,
yeah. And when you say that, you feel it in the work. Is it just like what's the indicator to you? You just come out more exhausted. The words you're saying aren't hidden.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not hitting. I'll say things I wish I hadn't said, or I'll forget to say something. Oftentimes, the way it shows up is like I feel like I can't zoom out and catch sight of what's going on. Like I feel kind of too in the weeds. And when I'm really doing the work I want to be doing, I have a little bit more of a like, I'm sitting in my own little dwelling and the person is sort of there with me. And I have a harder time doing that if I'm tired or
Mm.
stressed or whatever. Uh,
Yeah. If the gears inside, like you said earlier, aren't gearing,
yeah,
and are impacted by other things in your life.
yeah, yeah. And if I'm just tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, in other ways, I manage how many clients I see a week. If I do much more than 24, I'm toasted.
Yeah. Has that been like something you've just had to figure out over the years, like how much you could do? Were you ever at a point where you were seeing just way too many?
No, actually.
Mm.
Um, but I've had weeks where I saw like 26 and I was like, okay, so that's that's enough. I never need to do that again. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the way you say that you go about like the work and you show up as you, as authentic as you can with people, I imagine seeing more than what your body can handle just makes the work, I don't know, less transformative or less quality, maybe.
Yeah. I don't feel like myself in the work and then they can feel that, you know. Um, I've also in the vein of, taking good care of myself. I've started doing ecstatic dance lately. I don't know if you've heard me talk about this yet.
Only in passing. Tell us more about this ecstatic dance. What makes it so
Ugh.
ecstatic?
It's like I'm still very new to it, but the basic gist is that you arrive and they sort of tell you the rules, which is like no talking,
No.
and it's like kind of dimly lit, and there's people of all ages and bodies there, and you just dance for 2 hours, um, just free form, and something about that has really made my work easier in the last like 2 months that I've been doing it. Um, and I've been trying to figure out why. And I think part of it is that when I'm a therapist, I'm the one sort of holding the frame and setting the tone. And I'm like there asking people, asking people questions and like needing to keep the conversation going. I'm stewarding the environment. And when I'm dancing, somebody else has done that. and I don't even have to fucking talk.
Huh.
And there's no expectation for me to be anything. Um, and it's extremely liberating for me. I think it would always have been, but especially since becoming a therapist, it's like the role that I'm sort of always holding really gets to get put down for like those 2 hours.
Wow.
And
Sounds
that helps.
liberating.
It is real.
Liberating and kind of free.
Yeah. And, also like so much of my work is talking. Like I do a lot of somatic work in what I'm doing too. But even that, like I'm guiding somebody through the thing. And like we're in discursive, interactions that still need talking.
Mm.
I'm smiling because I joke with a few of my clients about how I'm like really into silence and like really want to support people to just be silent in space. But right, that's like the interruption to what we're often doing, which is talking. And the fact that I never have to say a word at dance and my body is doing the thing that I'm doing there. It's just a really nice change. So that's been a major part of what's been sustaining me lately is dancing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What prompted that? Has dance always been a part of your life?
Yes, actually, it has.
Huh.
Not for a while, like not after like college, really. But when I was a kid, I was in this thing called Kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope.
It's like a Seattle like 90s kid institution. Like people who grew up in Seattle often know what it is and people who don't. But it was this like modern dance company where you'd go and I forget her name, Anne Green Gables. I don't know, something like that. There'd be like these really expressive things where it's not like you're learning a dance step, but like she'd like put fabric squares on the floor and you'd go and you'd like stand on one and she'd be like, okay, when you're on that fabric square, you're a cube of ice. And if you're on that fabric square, you're a frog or like stuff like that, where you're just being prompted to be expressive with your body.
Yeah.
Not in like what is supposed to be like ballet or like other proscribed dance moves, but like from yourself. So like, I don't know, that is kind of how I dance now. And that's like what I think of the work as, even for me as a therapist, is like kind of deconditioning ourselves from from if ballet is the like perfectionist performance medium, that people are wanting to, no shade to ballet or people who like it, but right, it has that reputation. If people are trying to be like, help me be a better ballerina, I'll be like, why do we need to be a better ballerina? Do you, maybe there's other ways to dance in this world. Is being a ballerina really the thing that is bringing you alive?
Something that caught my curiosity while you're talking was this use of the word prescribed. Said it's kind of going away from this prescribed version of dance. Even as I relate that to the work you do in the therapy space, it's like this, I don't know, the for the lack of a better word, like the lack of structure or the lack of prescription is what I hear is important to you in these different spaces in your personal life and in the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to follow that up. I just agree with what you said.
Yeah.
I think, structure is often helpful for a lot of things. But when I impose a structure on the work, it can oftentimes sort of hide or, obscure the structure that a person is bringing in themselves. And I'm really wanting that to be the thing that guides what we're doing. And like usually those structures are hidden to themselves, right? Like most of our inner structures are sort of things that are opaque to us anyways, but there's also all the like layers upon layers of things that we've internalized that, tell us what we're supposed to do or whatever, that, oftentimes you're still sorting through them and you're 5 of therapy, where you're like, oh, I'm like responding to this idea about what I'm thinking I'm supposed to do here. And it's like getting in my way.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's like structure, if we're imposing that, kind of stands in the way of that actual, coming to terms with what's going on.
yeah.
These inner cycles that we want clients to see and break down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I think people with anxiety, for example, since I was talking about that earlier, are like, they want the structure because it helps provide some form of reassurance. And it's often those folks who are like the most uncomfortable with my like structurelessness.
I imagine.
And then we talk about what that discomfort is like, and they learn that they can survive in a less structured environment and their anxiety gets less.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine even as you're talking about it, it makes sense like that would be so healing, especially for someone who has, a dominant anxious part of them
Yeah.
that just needs to feel like even an unpredictable space can be one they can exist in.
Yeah.
Yeah, how cool. And I know the way that you said you show up in therapy is partially informed by how you've been in therapy yourself. How is it to be a therapist in therapy? Because I'm in therapy as well, and go on a
Mhm.
weekly basis, but I'd love to hear what you think about it.
It's so hard. I think that therapists probably make the hardest clients to therapists. Like, I'm sure I'm a pain in the ass to my therapist.
Mm.
And like, I'm so picky about like who's going to be my therapist because I have all kinds of judgments about like what therapy modalities I'm okay with being the client of. And um, yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you can sort of see the matrix code of therapy to submit yourself to the process and surrender in the way that I think without that sort of insider baseball knowledge is a little bit easier. Um,
Yeah, you like have the in as to what's happening in this space.
yeah, yeah, totally. And like you could critique your therapist's way of responding,
Right.
right? And it's like, and then of course that's grist for the mill of your own work. But yeah, I see a sand tray therapist
Sam
who,
Trey.
yeah,
What's that mean?
sand tray is just what it sounds like. I mean, there's a tray and it's got sand in it,
No.
and there's usually shelves on the wall of the therapy office, and they have all these little tiny figurines. And when you're doing a tray, you go and you pick out the figurines that like call to you, and you're like using your felt sense and your intuition to sort of guide which ones you pick, and then you arrange them on the sand and kind of feel into what it brings up for you.
Hmm.
Um,
What about, like you just said just a second ago, there's this pickiness of like the type of therapy you'd be willing to do and the type of therapist you want to see.
uh-huh.
What led to choosing sand tray? Because it sounds like such a fascinating
Oh,
modality, if that's even what we'd call
so glad you asked because I love telling this story.
it.
Um,
Okay.
uh, I have a colleague and friend who I went to school with named John Borges,
Hmm.
who I'm actually going to see on Halloween weekend coming up.
Oh, sweet.
He lives in Port Townsend, Washington, and works at this play therapy office that sees kids. Um, and last December at some point, he was like, "You want to come visit me here?" And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah." And we go to this office, and they have, 4 or 5 different sand tray rooms where, I mean, like I love my therapist's office, but she doesn't have nearly the number of like little figurines, right? Like they have like 5,000 little toys, um, plant things, animal things, household, like dollhouse things, people,
Wow.
abstract shapes, heroic figures, like archetypal things. Like it's just awesome. And he was like, "Do you want to do a tray?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Okay, John.
yeah." That's how he is. And it was really impactful to me to be able to sort of feel what's making me pick something and like trust my instinct to pick that one thing or this other thing, and then set it up, and like a lot came up for me in terms of what I was feeling, just like putting these little things in order. Um, it's nonverbal. Uh, it's kind of like psychodrama therapy, which I was in a psychodrama group for like 5 years before I became a therapist. And yeah, it's like concretizing something, and you get to sort of let that impact you in a way that's a lot different if it was just speaking. So um, I did that, and I was like, I think this is what I want to have my therapist be doing for me.
Wow.
And I found one through another colleague of mine who works here, Mohammed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he knew a person who knew a person.
It sounds so powerful.
It
And like
was.
making me think about, I mean, all of our conversations so far about structureless,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
so prescribed, where it's you living in within live or you doing therapy with the structures within yourself
Yeah.
and like coming to whatever change may come of that.
Yeah. Totally. And like I've thought about, I really want to get trained in it at some point,
Mm.
and I've thought about bringing it to my clients. And the idea of like some of my clients in particular, I imagine being like, "What? Like, you want me to play in a sandbox?" Like, um, but like, yeah, like I think it helps sort of get around a lot of the resistance, or it invites the resistance, which then you work with the resistance, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So in your own experience of sand tray therapy, what are some of the things you've learned about yourself through that?
What are some things I've learned about myself through doing sand tray therapies?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and if not learn or just like in the moment felt.
Sometimes I'll bring a dream and try to sort of concretize the dream in the
Hmm.
tray. And, I'll experience, I have a lot of nightmares, and I'll experience the fear that I had in a nightmare um, while doing a tray kind of about that nightmare. And it's made me realize that there's not a lot of times in my life where I feel that kind of fear, except when I'm asleep. And I find that interesting. I think whatever's going on there for me, um, I'm pretty good at managing my fear. But when I go to sleep and it's just my psyche, right? And it's just my unconscious running the show.
Right.
All of those fears kind of don't have the ego pressure to sort of suppress them anymore. And I'm very afraid. Like I have a lot of fear and a lot of things that I get really sort of stirred up by. And yeah, it's interesting to have some of that fear of a nightmare be present in my waking life because I don't get to experience it except when I'm, woken up by a terrifying dream. And there's like those few moments of being like horrified where you're like, wait, did that happen? No. Okay, I'm fine. So yeah, I think that's been an interesting thing so far for me. And yeah, just being able to experience parts of my unconscious that are just harder to get at or get after, of course, because it's the unconscious,
Yeah.
and experience the affects of those a lot more readily. It's a little surprising how readily I can experience some of those things, given that usually they're inaccessible. So that's what I've learned. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
It does. I'm sitting here just listening to you and taking it all in because I think because I'm so not familiar and I'm thinking about people listening to this who might be also in the same boat. Like you take a sandbox, you take some figurines and like whoop de doo. And what you're naming here is powerful, transformative, insightful, all of that. And it's all coming from like you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of allowing that to take up space in the material world.
Totally. And like the thing that I'm hearing as you're saying that, like kind of in the subtext is like, right, my therapist is just sitting there. She's just sitting there. And, you know, at the end of me doing my tray, she's asking me a few questions, but she's so good at just being like less is more from her, right? And I think especially for younger therapists and earlier in their career like myself, and I'm sure you can relate to this, right? The idea of like the less I do here the better is hard. It's hard to adopt that stance even though we know intellectually it's true. And even though our clients want us to, you know, do more and be more in the space, she's much older than me, and the way that she trusts herself to just be in the room with me while I'm playing in a fucking sandbox is something I really aspire to, because I don't think I have that self-trust yet. I think I would feel the need to sort of, you know, explain, justify to my patients, my clients, why I why it's helpful or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe why I haven't really leaned into getting trained yet, is that I don't have the self-trust as a clinician yet to say like, yeah, this stands on its own and I don't need to justify it.
My gosh, I really appreciate you saying that. And through the conversations we've had outside of this, like, you know, that's something that I struggle with too. You know, I find challenge with of not having to explain like what I'm doing and like
Yeah.
trusting myself and
Yeah.
like being confident and growing in that. And it's like, I don't know, it's so hard to when again, like this person's seeking out our service
Yes.
and I don't know, has a picture, especially if it's named explicitly for us, like has a picture of what we should be doing as their
Totally.
therapist.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure and expectation to handle.
It is. It is. And yeah, I think I have moments of trusting myself. You know, with some of my clients that I've worked with for a longer time, where I know that there's a lot of love and a lot of trust between us, I'm benefiting from that too, you know?
Mm.
And the way that I'm benefiting from it, apart from just having a person who I love, you know, that's nice, um, is also like, yeah, being able to sort of relax into how I actually want to do the work when I'm not afraid of disappointing my client, or when I'm not afraid of, you know, doing it the wrong way. That's how I know what I'm like as a therapist, is when I'm doing that work with my clients where there's a lot of like slowly built trust that we have, and I can just like say what I know in my heart and in my intuition is like the right thing to say, or be quiet when I know it's the right moment to be quiet.
Right.
And with like newer clients or clients where I don't have that much trust, I'm not doing the work that I really want to be doing yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to get to that place where we have that trust and we have that sort of ease where I'm relaxed, right?
It's mutually beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, right, I wish I could say I'm the therapist who's like, I'm always relaxed, I'm always confident, and I'm always giving that to my clients no matter what. But like, of course, that's not true. And even with the clients I have a lot of trust with, if I'm having like a really bad self-doubt day, like I feel it show up in the work. And even if they couldn't interpret or articulate that that's what they're feeling too, I know they do. Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but
no, I love that you're talking about this. I think it means so much to me that you're talking about it because it makes me feel less alone in my experience.
Yeah.
You know, because I said this in my last episode too, but at the end of the day, I want my clients to know that I care about them.
Yeah.
And like sometimes in expressing that, like it's so hard to do so when it feels like there's a mission to accomplish and like I have to show up a certain way.
Yeah.
You said a second ago, that these are people you love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering what you think about, like, is loving your client a requirement of being a therapist?
Oh, I don't think it's optional. I think you have to love your clients. And if you don't, you have to think about what your task is in, if it's referring them or,
Mm.
Trying to figure out what to do then, figuring out if you can learn to find a way to love them.
So it's like a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, of course, love is a big word, and I could wax poetic there too about like what it means, but
Mm.
people can feel if you love them or not. And I don't think it would be therapeutic for anyone to be in a room with someone who doesn't love them, talking with them about all the worst things that have ever happened to them, or, what they're trying to do in this next phase of their life or whatever. That needs that love. There's a quote that my friend Riley Patterson, who's also a therapist, exposed me to that I think about a lot, which is that the experience of being really listened to, like really listened to and loved, are so similar that they might as well just be the same. We might as well just consider the act of really listening to a person an act of love and not worry about differentiating those two things. And like, that's kind of where I'm coming from in this.
Can you say that one more time? Because I'm not gonna lie, I looked down at my notes and then I lost you. And I really wanna hear
Yeah,
this because
totally.
you were finishing, I was like, oh, this sounds really good and I don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Please. Right.
And actually, I think it's from an Annie Rogers book. Annie Rogers is a writer who talks about her experience as a therapist. That the experience of really being listened to and of being loved are so similar that we might as well just consider them to be the same thing. And yeah, that's why I think it's non-negotiable. I think if you have a client that you can't love in this basic way of really just actually wanting to know what's going on in their life, actually really looking forward to seeing them, even if you're like in a conflict with them, or, they're driving you nuts because they're stuck on something and you're stuck on it with them and it's hard.
Yeah.
But like, they're a person that you want to see. If that's not part of the work, it's gonna impact them. I'm also a big fan of Mr. Rogers, which people who I show this to, if like I ask my friends to watch this, they'll be like, yeah, okay, here, she's gonna start talking about Mr. Rogers. He has a quote that's like, love is at the root of everything, love or the lack of it. And I think that if you are lacking that love when you're with your clients, they will feel it, even if they don't understand what they're feeling.
Yeah, as I listen to you, I literally feel a chill come down my body because I think I'm really digesting it. And it's how I see the work too, like how I want to build this space with my clients, because you and I have talked about it before here, where it seems like at the root of a lot of client issues, whether it be an individual, couple, family, whatever it is, it's just finding a way to feel loved, in the way you need to feel loved.
Yeah. I have to pee so bad.
Okay.
Can we pause for a second?
Sure.
It's funny to be talking about love, like really feeling it. So since
the body working against you.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're good.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome. Pee go well?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
everything came out okay.
Oh, good. Nice and smooth. Just like therapy.
Yeah. Unstructured.
What? Okay. We're headed to almost time.
Okay.
But in the last 10 minutes, I mean, maybe we could just close out on this conversation of love, and then I just have a few questions for you to close. But,
yeah.
Yeah. Love. It's an interesting thing in this space. And like, I don't know, in your own development as a clinician, how have you seen yourself, I don't know, grow in the ability to show love, especially around around clients who might be harder to love?
I'm thinking about that. Can you say the question again?
Hmm. Yeah, just over your years of experience, how have you grown to love your clients more?
Um, I mean, I think through loving myself more. I think, I don't know if that makes sense, but like that's the answer that's coming to mind. And it's like, right, one of the things that I find easiest to love in anyone, client or otherwise, is like the fact that they were like a kid once, like that. If I'm having a hard time finding compassion for somebody, I'm like kind of trying to look at them and be like, oh, like one time, like that was a kid with like missing teeth, like two front teeth missing, and like, they like dressed up for Halloween one year as Superman or whatever, and like
Yeah.
they had a favorite pet, or they were really scared of the dark, or like whatever, right? Like that piece is sort of what I'm talking about when I say that I love my clients. Um, I love their basic humanity. And I think kids have this amazing ability to sort of like help us see what it means to be human, right? Like they don't have all their defensives put together yet, usually, or if they do, they're kind of cobbled together and they don't hold for very long. And um, yeah, like, they, at the end of the day, they're like, they have these needs that they can't manage themselves. And they're this little creature that like needs things. And I think it's that little creature that needs things that I end up loving in anyone. I think that's what we end up loving when we love someone, is like their little creature self. And like in myself, like that's when, like, right when I'm like talking negatively to myself, like I have to remind myself, like, that's who I'm talking to, is this like little tiny child who like loves animals or whatever, and like is just trying to do her best. And that sort of makes me catch myself and be like, oh, like shit, like I don't need to be doing that to myself. And I think that's sort of what I mean when I say like loving myself is kind of what's made it. There's this like reciprocal relationship between how I feel about and care for myself and how I feel about and care for my clients and people in my life. Um, and it's about that like kind of like raw human thing in them that just needs love, needs consistency and care, and needs a snack or needs tea, or needs to be warmer, or needs the blinds to be closed. I think it's that
Oh
part of them.
my gosh, I'm feeling so called to just put my hand on my heart.
No.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love everything, love. I love everything you're saying here. And I think it really shows like I can attest that in us building our friendship together, I felt a lot of that of what you're
Mm-hmm.
of what you're saying here about love. And I think that is, I don't know, a reason that I love being at this practice, because you're here and you have a consistent way of showing like love and humanity and helping me feel kind of at home, which is really nice. And why I
It's
wanted you on
nice
this
to
podcast too, because I just want to share you and your humanness
Mm.
to the world, because I think the world needs a little bit of that love as well.
Thanks for saying that. And yeah, I love that you're here too. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm not gonna pretend either that it's easy for me. Like it's hard. I don't want to be like like thinking about people listening to this at some point and trying to be like, it's not as though I'm like very gifted and good at loving. Like I think it's really hard work.
Yeah.
Um, and it's important work that I really strive to do. So I appreciate that that feels like it is felt here. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah. And like think I want to say for the record, it's not as though I'm saying to my clients, like, I love you
I
all
love
the
you
time.
so
Like,
much.
I'm not like rolling out with that unless they're really asking me. And then, there's a conversation, I suppose. But
Sure.
it's not totally clear what will be in that conversation either. I think I want it to be made clear that I'm talking about what it means to be in loving presence and not need to say it even. Um, just in case there's any ethical question marks and eyebrows being raised by me being like, love is so central, it's non-negotiable. Like, I'm not telling my clients I love them
Straight up.
unless it comes up, unless they bring it up,
Sure.
usually.
I love the clarification there.
Yeah.
Thanks for providing that. The
Yeah.
APA, the COAMPT, and all the other
Yeah.
licensing boards are happy you said that.
Yeah. Just want to make sure anybody who's listening, I'm not a bad therapist.
No, I think from our conversation today, I don't think anybody's thinking that.
Okay.
So I've been working on some few questions just to ask at the end of every episode, and figuring out a segment name for it. I'm thinking about like closing our session or something therapeutic, but they're just closing questions. That's like,
what you could call it is the doorknob questions. How like in our therapy training, they're like, yeah, the doorknob thing that the client says, like really big deal, like right at the end of a session, you're like,
oh my
excuse
gosh,
me, what?
Thank you for, yeah, I'm gonna say that. Yeah.
Doorknob questions.
Time for some doorknob questions.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that one.
That one, well, is now forever recorded. Okay, doorknob questions. I have 3.
Okay.
And you can answer this however long or however short you want to. The first question I have for you is, what's a small joy that you've been loving recently? Oh, love. What a this is a pre-made question, and now we just talk about love.
Yeah. I have so many small joys. I'm really like a small joy person.
Oh, small joy person.
I really am all about those tiny things that make life better. I have been putting stickers in my journal. I've been like buying stickers for myself and putting them in my journal as I'm writing. And they're like, I have so many at this point that like I have like themes, right? Like whatever I'm writing, I like can pick a sticker that's like, oh, that matches the theme of what I'm talking about today.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's like, yeah, I like had this moment at the beginning of the school year, right? Which is like, for anybody who's raised in our school system, September is the beginning of the year, right? It's not January, it's September. And like all these feelings of like, I want a new notebook. I want to smell a fresh pencil that's been sharpened, or like I want to have a planner. I want a new backpack. Like I want all these little like things that were just rites of passage for us as kids. And one of the things that I remember really loving when I was a kid was stickers, and like how teachers had like fall themed stickers on their little like, calendar they would put up in the room or whatever. So I was like, well, I could buy stickers for myself.
Yeah, you could. And you did.
And I did. And it has been such a source of infinite joy. Like I feel inordinately happy when I put my little stickers in my journal with me. And like when I buy a new set of stickers, like I found a sticker book full of hummingbirds. So now I have like hummingbird stickers. I don't know. I'm so glad you asked that, because I've been really vibing on my stickers.
Oh my gosh. The small joy of stickers in the journal.
Yeah.
And I love that I know that about you now.
Yeah, you do.
Just have like,
now the world knows me.
binder of stickers that we're flipping through.
Yeah. I love my stickers. And like, yeah, back to like, loving my younger self, my inner child self. It's like such a way of caring for younger me.
Exactly.
She has pretty simple needs.
Oh.
Just want some stickers.
Some damn stickers.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, my next question, my next doorknob question is, what's one thing that your clients have taught you about life?
One thing?
I know there's probably many.
God, there's like so many different things in my mind. How do I pick one?
Mm.
I mean, gosh, that everyone is just so hard on themselves.
Mm.
I have a lot of my clients who are like, they're incredible. Like they're really, really good at things in their life. And like, even if their life is going terribly, right? If like terrible stuff has been going on for them, you know, stuff that they really wanted to have happen didn't happen, or like they lost something really important to them, like they're really incredible at just like adapting. Um, but they're so hard on themselves, like so hard on themselves. And I am too. Like that is just a thing about me. And like I'm thinking of like sometimes if my clients are a couple minutes late, or even if they're many minutes late, I'm like, I'm so, so sorry. I'm so sorry. And when I'm the therapist, I'm like, you know, I'm not I'm not upset. You know, can we talk about what's going on? Sorry.
Good.
Um, sorry. I had to say the word sorry. Uh, you know, let's talk about like what's going on that, you know, made you late or like whatever. Let's talk about it. But I'm like, it's fine. Like I'm not upset.
Yeah.
Um, but then if I'm late to my therapist by like a minute, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, wait, wait. Like I'm telling my clients it's okay. Like I'm telling them not to worry. Like I'm seeing how much they're beating themselves up for this thing that then when I go do it, I am the same way with myself. And I'm like, yeah, like everyone is just like that.
So hard on themselves. Me
Yeah.
too.
Um, and it's really hard to not do that. And it's like, you know, it's like silly. Like it's silly. It makes me think of like, you know, if some like I'm trying to think of an analogy here. Maybe I won't be able to think of one, but along the lines of like if somebody was like putting on a clown performance, right? Somebody's like dressed up as a clown
I'm following.
and they're like, you know, they have the makeup and the wig and they're like doing silly sort of like self-deprecating like tricks or whatever. And at the end of that, them being like, I'm sorry that I like didn't do that right or something. And you're like,
Mm.
what the fuck are you talking about?
Mm.
You're being a clown. Like it's okay. The whole point is that it's not
Yeah.
perfect, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that analogy is totally what I want it to be, but right, like are taking ourselves so seriously about things that are not that serious. Um, or you know, they're serious, they're important. They're not a joke, but they're like not life and death. And I don't know, maybe life and death is kind of silly. Like maybe we can not be so hyper serious about how we move through the world. And my clients, I think, remind me that I am that way too. And I think everyone is. It's hard.
Yeah. It's hard. And I think it's pointed to how people are socialized and all of these things. I mean, what a clinical conversation it sounds like comes out of it for you.
Yeah.
You know, and same with me too. I try my best to talk through like the process of it all,
Yeah.
where it's like, this is fine.
Yeah.
And what about like what if I was upset?
Yeah.
You know? Or
Totally.
and what would that mean for me as I go to my therapist late?
Mhm.
Like what if my therapist is upset?
What
What
if
would
she
that
hates me now?
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, it gets so
Yeah.
the thoughts can go every which way.
Totally. But yeah, just learning that everyone is hard on themselves. And usually the things that we're hard on ourselves about are like kind of silly.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question I have for you today is if you could share one thing with your younger self, what would that be?
Apart from stickers, you mean?
Apart from the stickers. Yep.
Um, I mean, I'm like big on reparenting myself all the time, so that's a big question. Again, one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm thinking about like preschool me as I'm hearing about that question. Um, and preschool me like had their shit together. And by that I mean she did not give a shit if other people were judging her. My parents have this like book that my preschool teacher gave to all of the people in my preschool at the end of the year. And it was like, a scrapbook. It's like on this like 90s construction paper, right? And it's like
Oh, that's
pictures of
cute.
me doing things and like quotes from things I've said. I'm not really writing yet very well at that point. So it's like maybe some drawings of mine and observations that other people are making about me.
Oh.
And there's a note that my preschool teacher wrote in it that's like, Kayla loves playing in the mud. She loves like touching bugs and like writing with sidewalk chalk on the wet pavement. And despite the admonishments of her peers who are like zipping around on their bikes, she's just like content to be like in nature doing her thing by herself. She doesn't care that like other people don't do that. And like I read that a few years ago at a moment where I was like just trying to uncover like parts of myself where I felt more like me. And I was like, yeah, that like the fact that I just want to like go and like be in nature by myself for like a long time and like touch mud. Um, and so like that preschool self, I guess, talked to me in a way and said to me, like, that's who you are, And so that's a long roundabout way of me saying like the younger me I would talk to is like, I don't know, teenage me, like early 20s me, who I was going through a rough time at that point and, really lost sight of who I was and really lost sight of what mattered to me and let a lot of other people influence me in ways that I think is pretty age typical, but like still was very painful.
Sure.
And I think I would just take the book that I saw at my parents' house and just show her that picture. Um, I would have my younger selves dialogue, I guess is what I'm saying. Uh, that like, yeah, like I've always known what I like,
Wow.
and I don't need to do a different thing from what I am. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for answering those, and thanks for just showing up
totally.
as human as you are.
Yeah, thanks for letting me riff. I can't even remember most of what I've said today. I've been like a little nervous and like um yeah, I feel like there's so many things that I want to say that it's so hard to cram into 50 minutes, but
Yeah. Then I'll
yeah.
have to have you on again.
I guess maybe that'll happen.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's wrap up then.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. How are we feeling?
How are we feeling?